Welcome back to lesson 2 of this module, and in this lesson we will use CSS to design our chat box. So to do this we need to go to our Atom editor. I have already opened up my folder, and now we need to open up our style.css file, and it is blank right now, and we need to code in the style.css now. So first we will write asterisk and then our curly braces and then press enter. So this asterisk means that we are calling all of this file in the style.css. So basically this asterisk means all. So in our asterisk we will give it a padding of 0, give it a margin of 0 as well, and give it a border of 0 as well. So we gave a padding of 0, margin of 0, and a border of 0 to all of this file. The next thing that we need to do is call the body tags, enter our curly braces, and in between our curly braces we only need to give it a background color. So for this we need to enter a property that is background and give it a value which is silver. So basically we are calling a function, giving it a property, and then assigning it a value. So here the function is body, the property is background, and the value is silver. So this is all that we need to do with the body. The next thing is the container. So if we navigate back to our index.php, we can see that we have given this div tag an ID of container. So we give an ID because if we need to do some styling using CSS, we can always call this ID. So over here the ID is container, and we can call this ID over here by using a hashtag sign or a pound sign or a number sign, whatever you call it, and write the ID which was container. So now this is a selector. A selector means that we're calling an ID from our index.php or any other file. So between the curly braces we can give a width to this container ID, for example 40%, give it a background color of white, and give it a margin of 0. There needs to be a colon here, margin of 0. 0 will be the width and the height will be auto. The next thing is padding. We need to give it a padding of 20 pixels. So now a couple of things that we need to make sure is that we write all of this, which are the properties and values, in between the curly braces, otherwise this won't work. The second thing is that we need to make sure we end every property and value with a semicolon. If we don't end it with a semicolon, it will also give us an error. So after the container, we have to call the chat box, chat_box. This is the ID that we gave over here, chat_box. We have to call this ID first, then in between the curly braces we can give a width of 90% and check what happens if we only enter the width. So if we go back to our chat box, refresh, and nothing happens. So let's figure out the problem. So everything's fine here. Padding, margin. Let's go back to our index.php. Everything's fine here as well. So the problem is that we forgot to link the style.css with the index.php. So we need to create a link tag, give it an rel, which will be style sheet, and then give it an href, which is a link, and that would be style.css, which is the name of our file, and then close this link tag. Now if we save this file, we have our style.css file complete, and if we navigate back to our chat box and refresh this, now you can see we have a background color of silver and a width of 90%, and we also have a background color of the container, which is white. So basically this is the container and this is the body, which is silver right now. So let's navigate back to our style.css. Now let's give it a height, and let's say 400 pixels. Save this, go back to our chat box, press enter, and now you can see we have a height of 400 pixels, and we can increase this height as well. So for example, let's do it 500 pixels. Go save it, go back to our chat box, press enter, and as you can see the height extends. So it depends on you, whatever height you want to give to your chat box. The next thing that we need to do in our style.css is we need to design our input functions and the text area. So let's go back to our style.css. We'll call the input tag, give it a type of text, and notice that we need to give this type in single inverted commas. So after calling this input function, we need to put in our curly braces. We'll give it a width of 100%, semicolon, a height of 40 pixels for now, semicolon, and then a border as well, which will be 1 pixel only, but it will be solid gray. Then we will give a border radius, which will be 5 pixels. Now we need to copy this and paste it over here and change the type from text to submit. Now what are we doing here? So basically we first called the input function, which had a type of text, which is over here, and now we're calling the input function which has a type of submit, which is over here. So we'll keep the width, height, border, and the radius same. Now we need to give some design and color to our text area as well. So we will copy this function, paste it one more time, and get rid of this input type submit and write text area. And notice that it automatically changes color if it is present in the index.php. So let's save this, go back to our chat box, refresh this, and now you can see that we have a good looking input, which is input your name, text area, write your message, and an input which says send it. Now one more thing we can do is, and we will do, is that change the color of this button. So to change the color of this button, we have to go back to our style.css. This is the button where it says input type submit, and give it a color of, let's say, green. Ctrl plus S, go back, refresh, and as you can see, the text has now changed to green. But what if we need to change the background of this button, not the text? So we have to go back and add background color. Now save this, refresh, and as you can see, now the background has been changed to green. Let's reduce the height so it gets fit onto our page. So it was 500 pixels, let's do it 400 pixels again, refresh, and now it looks good. Now let's call one more function, and that is our chat data. So we'll put a number sign or a hashtag sign, write chat data, enter our curly braces, and now we need to give the properties and the values that we want to give to this chat data. So first of all, I need to give the width, which I want to be 100%, then the padding, which I want to be 5 pixels, then the margin bottom, and I want this to be 5 pixels as well, and then last border bottom, and this I want to be 1 pixel solid silver, semicolon. Now let's check this. Let's refresh our page, and as you can see, it creates a line that we wanted, so it separates all the messages. Now a couple of things that we need to do more are, we need to give these span tags a color. So the name, we can give a color of green, so we need to write style, then color colon green, and then our semicolon. Save it, go back to our chat box, refresh, and as you notice, the color has been changed. Similarly, we can change the message color as well. We can give it a style, color of brown, and then with the time, but first let's check the message. So we can refresh this, and the message is now brown. Now let's move the date towards the right. To do this, we need to go back to our index.php, give the date a style, and that will be this time float right semicolon. Save this, go back to our chat box, and the date floats to the right side. Now if you need to bold the data, which is the name, the message, and the time, you can go back to your style.css, enter a property in your chat_data, which will be font weight, and then you can give it a value of bold, and this will bold the text for you. Refresh this after saving it, and as you can see, now it looks great. Now the text is bold, the time is bold, and now everything looks good. So now our chat box looks awesome. One more thing is that if I shorten up this browser, you can see that this is responsive. So it shortens the chat box as I shorten the browser. So it's completely responsive, and this is the power of PHP and the doc type HTML. So in this lesson, we gave design to our chat box using CSS, and now our chat box looks great. So in the next lesson, we will create a database by going to our phpMyAdmin, and then after creating a database, in lesson 5 we will link the database to our chat box. So everything becomes dynamic. Currently everything is static. We need to enter it in our code, but as soon as we link it with our database, everything will become dynamic and we don't need to enter the messages into our code. Instead, we will just enter into our database or over here, and it will be shown over here. So in this lesson, we worked with CSS, gave some design to our chat box, and in the next lesson we will create a database in PHPMyAdmin. So keep practicing, because practice makes you perfect. If you have any questions, if you get any errors, feel free to ask me in the discussions tab, and I will try my best to answer and solve those problems for you. So let's move to our next lesson.